All right, so what we're doing here is doing a review of my two go-to helmets. On the left here, I got the Nexx X.G100, and on the right, I have the AGV 3000. Obviously, two completely different styles, two very similar price points, and if I had to choose between the two, it'd be a tough draw. Just to give a one-liner of like what these two helmets are about. For the Nexx, it's going back to that vintage retro styling of like 50s, 60s and adding in some solid cutting edge technology. It's got a solid fit and the cover level is really good, super cushiony, and obviously it's got a pretty luxurious interior. If you can do a look here, I'll give a close-up here in a second. But ultimately what it comes down to is this retro style look. You don't have the classic helmet snap down. You have the buttons, which give a really solid look. One drawback for this on the highway, if you're going anything above 60, you look left or right, this thing's going to be popping off its bottom seat here, which is one of the downsides. For the AGV, you got some really solid clean lines, really solid history behind it too, and just those, you know, they do have some iconic colors. I'm kind of basic in that I like my helmets black. You know, obviously I got some styling on the Nexx, but that's just how I roll. And like I said, it's pretty minimalist. You have the simplicity, you know, pretty elegant helmet, and they're made to last. Got some solid bold contours. Obviously the chin piece is a little bit different than your normal helmets. I do feel like I get a lot more wind. My chin does stick out on this helmet, which I actually don't mind. It's pretty nice. And it's such a thinner helmet than this more bulky Nexx helmet. Out here in the forest, typically I'm riding with the Nexx, whereas if I'm doing some highway riding, I'm using the AGV. AGV does have a little bit more peripheral on it, which is really nice. You get to see a lot more visor options with it as well. I haven't gone and purchased that as I haven't needed it, but you know, it's always kind of fun to throw back to this like little button system here. When I am riding and I want to pop it down, if I have it off at a stoplight, since it's fogging up, I'll usually have to go no hands and drop it down, which is kind of a bummer. All right, so I want to go over a few talking points for both of these helmets. Price, the options that you have in terms of design, weight, padding, sizing, ventilation, the visor locking system, the shell, chin straps, wind noise. So we got a lot to cover. So first things first, price. For me, when I bought the AGV 3000, I got it for $279.91 total. And if you look on the AGV website, these are retailing for $379.95. That's US dollars. So point to make there is look for the deals. I bought my Nexx Devon helmet for $304.96. So just a little bit, almost $25 more than the AGV. And that was actually off the Nexx website. They do both have a multitude of options, but that's what's awesome about these helmets is they have different looks for, you know, so many different types of people. Like I said earlier, I just like the black minimalist helmet. It's my kind of styling. I want to black out my entire bike, so that's the kind of look I'm going for. But there's a design out there for whatever you want. We're going to talk about weight now. So in terms of weight, when I first got the Nexx helmet, it was so light. It's the lightest helmet I had ever worn. It comes in at about 1,350 grams, plus or minus 50, depending on the sizing you got, whereas the AGV is at 1,375 grams in the first shell size. So a little bit heavier, but overall, if I had to compare them just in my left and right hand, I'm not really going to notice a difference. It does make a huge difference on your head, though, when you're riding. It's nice to have a light helmet and, you know, not just have something bulky on your head that kind of gets in the way sometimes. All right, so in terms of padding, both have their own benefits and different ways they kind of talk about it. So we'll start with the AGV. AGV has this embroidered logo on the top of their helmet. You know, the classic logo that you see on the front that unfortunately you cannot take off. It's standard on almost all their helmets. Their padding is very luxurious. They say it's genuine leather. They do have a lot of options on their website if you want to change out your padding and get a different size if you don't think it fits you that well. The interiors are removable and washable, which is nice because, you know, out here in South Carolina, I'm sweating my ass off the entire time, so my head gets wet. So that's nice. And the fabric inside is suede, so it's a real comfortable feel. I will say I have a large on the AGV helmet, an extra large on the Nexx helmet, and the next one is showing 61/62 centimeters, whereas the large here on the AGV is 59 centimeters, just to give you a little bit difference of what the sizing here is. That being said, while I do need the XL for the Nexx, the large fits wonderfully for the AGV on my head. So interesting to see how the different sizing works out for both of these helmets. Now for the Nexx has this X-Mart dry fabrics is what they call it. So it's a soft anti-sweat and anti-allergic fabric inner lining. Not sure how much I believe that, but you know, I haven't really washed it out, and it still smells the same as if I got it new, practically. So that's pretty impressive that they were able to do that. The pads are 3D formed apparently, and also removable and washable, so both helmets got that going for them. And then finally they have this ergo padding. I think everyone's kind of got an ergo padding. I don't know what makes them so much better. So yeah, that's the rundown on padding. Overall I'd say AGV padding is much more high-end. Nexx padding has some really interesting technology where it's this anti-sweat, anti-allergic, you know, fabric inner lining type system. AGV has a suede. If I had to compare the two, if I'm riding out in colder weather, I'd wear the AGV. If it's really hot, I'm gonna wear the Nexx. Probably my rundown. All right, sizing. So in terms of sizing, Nexx has all the way from extra small to extra large, and then AGV is the same. So that's about 7 sizes. You'll probably find a helmet that fits you in that range. At least I hope so. All right, so in terms of ventilation, for the AGV, what you have is this one front vent up here on the visor. You can see that. What you'll do is you'll remove this, and you'll be getting air up into the back of your head while you're riding. I think it's a pretty smart system. I haven't used it personally. I should be, since it's so freaking hot out here, but I've kept this on pretty much the whole way around, so I can't really review that side of it, though I'm sure it's got some solid ventilation. On the Nexx, you're gonna have this chin ventilation, which is what you see up forward here. This does just fine. I have noticed on a lot of rides with the Nexx, my visor foams up a lot when it's a little bit colder out, and you're just steaming up the helmet on the inside with your breath. So that part sucks, but in terms of ventilation here in the summer weather, it's not bad. I feel like I'm not getting that hot on my rides, which is good. All right, so let's talk about the visor and the locking system they have for the visor. AGV has this classic large visor giving you a lot of peripheral vision on that ride. Has this micro locking system, which is pretty smart on this little piece right here, and it's very secure. Like I mentioned on the Nexx, one downside of only having the buttons is if you're riding, you have this up, you want to put it down, you kind of have to go no hands and flop it down. You can't really bring it up too much if you have the top visor on, so you can bring it up to this, which gives some extra ventilation as well. One thing I've noticed is if I'm turning my head and I'm over 60 miles an hour, is this thing will kind of pop up just through the wind, and I have to bring it back down and get it back in place, which kind of sucks. All right, next in terms of the shell. So AGV has 3 shell sizes. Both are designed with fiberglass, and Nexx will come with the peak for these where these top 3 buttons are, which is pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, it's just your classic helmet shell. There's not much to report on that. Nexx has this high performance organic fibers and biaxial fiberglass, twile, organic fibers, something going on in there, and apparently it's really good, so great for them, but I don't really notice that much of a difference in terms of, all they have is this different helmet shape. This one's more oval, this one's more circular, so I kind of like the styles on both of those, so different kinds of riding. If I'm wearing something, I don't know, I'm not that big into fashion. For chin straps, you both have a double D-ring buckle, classic on most motorcycle helmets. And finally, for wind noise, oh my god. Nexx, if you have the peak on and you're riding on the highway, that thing is going to be just flapping up and down. Unless you're hitting 70 solid and you got your head kind of tilted up, then it's gonna always make noise, which sucks. So that kind of adds into the wind noise for the Nexx. That's why I really don't ride with it unless I'm doing some dirt biking, which these days I'm not doing much of. AGV, a little bit better wind noise. Neither have kind of the bottom where you have a little padding which adheres to your chin to block out wind noise coming from the bottom. But with both of these, the fit's pretty good where I'm not getting a lot of wind noise, though I would put AGV on top of Nexx in terms of wind noise, just based on my experience. So yeah, that's pretty much it on these two helmets. I mean, honestly, two very different styles of helmets, really solid looking helmets. I love them. If I had to choose one or the other, I'm riding with the AGV if I'm doing some commuting, and if I'm out in the woods, in the boondocks, I'm wearing the Nexx. And I can't really choose one over the other, just because, as you can see, they're two completely different helmets. And I think if I did, it'd probably fall closer to the AGV just because of this flap situation. It's a really solid look, but in terms of riding and feeling safe and having to take my hands off the handle, like, I'm gonna stick with the AGV. It's just so simple. Just pop this thing up and you're good. So yeah, AGV wins, I guess, and that surprise review. Pretty wonky comparison between the two, but someone might be out there curious to think about what riders are thinking, and I think this gives a pretty solid review between the two. Like I said, look for the deals on the Nexx and the AGV websites. These helmets are completely overpriced. You can always find a helmet on sale. So yeah, hope you like this review and comparison. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Catch y'all.